Hello, everybody. My name is Scott Davis. I am a professor of marketing at University of Houston downtown, and I'm quite passionate about entrepreneurship and small businesses. And I'm just delighted to have the opportunity to speak to you today about a topic that is relevant for anybody in business, but particularly people who are trying to find their form of differentiation. How are we going to compete in this marketplace? And, starting from the beginning where you should, instead of just taking a product to market and hoping that it's going to work. So today I want to talk to you about value proposition and present you with a tool that I think you'll find super useful in trying to figure out what your value proposition is and whether customers are going to perceive the same value that you might. So before we look at the tool, let's take a quick detour to talk about value proposition and why it matters, why it's something you should be thinking about all the time and something you should care about. Our value proposition is basically answering the question, why should customers buy from us instead of everything else that's available? And when you have a really clear answer for that question, it means you understand your value proposition. And it may seem easy, but when you actually sit down and try to answer that question, it can be quite difficult. So in order to illustrate this through a real world example, I thought maybe we'll take a company that's global and diverse and that a lot of people have some experience with and look at Starbucks. So in 1971, when Starbucks was just getting started, they were all about selling high quality coffee. They were selling whole bean coffee. This was before the era of Starbucks coffee houses on every corner. And it was really about the experience of discovering these new whole coffee beans and enjoying exotic coffee beans from around the world. And their value proposition centered on that, and they were able to dominate because at that time, especially in the US, there was a focus on lower quality instant coffees in the marketplace. But what's really cool, and I think maybe you'll realize this since we're talking about Starbucks, is that value proposition would not work throughout the lifetime of Starbucks. So it's something that's constantly evolving and changing depending on the needs of the marketplace, depending on the scale of the company. And Starbucks scaled tremendously, of course. So their next step kind of in the value proposition process, the transition that they made was to this coffee house experience. And if you think about, a customer in Seattle going into a Starbucks for the first time, it's going to be much different when they first opened versus what the experience is like today. So that value proposition continues to evolve, and it's different in 2024 than it was when they had their first, handful of coffee houses in the Northwest. So here, instead of just to focus on the whole bean coffee, which was still relevant because these are the types of products that they're serving. But the coffee house itself, it was about this comfortable, inviting space. And this idea of a third place between work and home was really the key to their value proposition because the coffee houses that existed weren't really offering that. And there was a lot that they had going on in the stores to kind of drive this home in terms of comfortable seating areas, the sound and smell from the French presses, the pastries under the display case. All of this made people feel comfortable with, okay, this is kind of my third spot. It's not work, it's not home, it's something a little bit different. And maybe at that time it was a little bit exciting. And then we can zoom forward to 2024 when Starbucks is serving this global audience, and it's more about convenience, still offering a personalized experience, but it's not about beans and equipment, and it's not necessarily about that third place because often Starbucks can be a crowded, busy place where we're looking for very fast service. So they've evolved quite a lot. I think their value proposition is actually muddier today than it's ever been in the past, which is why there are some challenges. But of course, they have tremendous brand familiarity. They've built customer habits, so they have a lot going for them. But that might introduce some competitive opportunity. Suppose we are a startup or an entrepreneur who's trying to get into the coffee business. We want to open a local coffee house. Well, to do that successfully, we're probably not just going to butt heads with Starbucks and hope that it works. We're going to need to offer something different. And that's where the value proposition canvas can be super helpful. So here's the strategic tool that I've been teasing, the value proposition canvas, and it's divided into two main sections. On the right side, we have the customer profile, and on the left side, we have the value map. So I always like to start on the customer profile, and I think when you work on your value proposition, you should also start with the customer. That's just how modern marketing works. We have to offer value to our customers. So in order to do this with the map that you're looking at, again, focusing on the circle on the right side of the screen, we need to understand the customer's jobs. We need to understand their pains and their gains. And jobs are simply tasks that customers are trying to accomplish. Pains are their obstacles and challenges. And gains are benefits or outcomes that they desire. And Starbucks, despite being successful, isn't without customer pains. I mentioned some of these. We have crowded spaces. Sometimes we get impersonal service because they have such a high volume of customers. And maybe the shops lack local character. They don't really have a uniqueness in their offerings other than maybe, for big cities, they'll have mugs with the city name on them. But these aspects, these pains could provide us with vital clues as a local coffee house that's about to enter the market and help us differentiate ourselves. So competitors' pains that customers in this industry experience are our opportunities. And we can focus on offering a more personalized, intimate coffee experience. Almost going back to kind of that middle value proposition I talked about for Starbucks, where they went into the coffee house business. Getting back to that, we want to create a cozy environment, something that's less crowded, where customers can feel like the staff appreciate them, like they're recognized and valued. And having this tailored approach is going to beat Starbucks in terms of personalization and could be a significant differentiator for us depending on what other types of coffee houses are operating in the area where we're looking to operate. We're going to try to do some things with our products and services to create that fit. So again, we're going to highlight the personal connection. We're going to look for local flavors that are unique, things that competitors aren't offering. And again, having this relaxed, community-focused environment, because as Starbucks and some of its other competitors have grown, they've kind of moved away from that. So we need to understand also the kind of local coffee house scene to make sure we're going to be able to compete with them. But if we're going against the giants, certainly having more community focus, having this more personalized experience is going to be a point of differentiation. So with this value proposition, what we're trying to do is emphasize our strengths as a business. We really want to make them shine and be sure that they're resonating with the customer profile. Do these align to the gains that customers are hoping to experience? And do they alleviate the pains that they might be experiencing with some of our competitors like Starbucks and other local coffee shops? So I hope that this talk has been thought-provoking, that it makes you want to download the value proposition canvas. I'm sure we can provide the link to Strategizer so that you can do that, or provide you with the PDF. And your goal here is going to be to apply this to your business and be real honest with yourself about the alignment of your value map with that customer profile. Because remember, in the world of coffee, the smallest bean often offers the richest flavor.